So we get on to real travel. This is about a mile away, and you all know what it is. And I should think everybody who ever comes to London has photographed this. There's probably at least 1 million pictures of it taken every year. But I took this on a digital camera. I didn't like the colour, but I liked the lighting. So I changed it into black and white, made it quite contrasty, and for me it works. You've got to use Photoshop today. I can print far better in a digital environment than I ever could with an enlarger, and I can get far more out of a picture. Go a bit further east and we get to Canary Wharf. I shot this on a funny angle because I liked it, but the lighting made the picture. Without the lighting I wouldn't have taken it. It's got this strong sunshine, and it's on diagonal lines. Diagonal force lines are the greatest lines in photography. Verticals are authoritarian, horizontals are calming. So a horizon is flat and it looks calm. Horizontals, it's military, it's authority. Diagonals are lines of change. Some barns in Montana, in America. Without the lighting, I wouldn't have bothered to have taken the picture. If the light had been behind the barns, there wouldn't have been a picture. There would have been no frame at all. This is film. And if it looks a little bit out of focus, which it does, it's because it's a pinhole camera. And I took this last November on Primrose Hill, and it was with film that was outdated by 13 years. But I chanced it. This was at an aperture, because there's no lens, of 135, and it was a 12-second exposure. This is just light through trees. This was in New Zealand, in South Island, around Lake Tekapo. We were driving along a dirt road. A vehicle came along the other way and threw up all this dust, which went into the trees. There hadn't been a picture there until this vehicle came along and threw up this gravel dust. Stopped the car, jumped over a fence and ran, took this. I had about 2 frames and the dust had dispersed. And that could be used as a travel picture. You have to think a bit laterally about how editors would use a picture if you want to be a professional. You really do. Trees in a fog. This is on Hampstead Heath. I think it's quite sort of ghostly and it's quite forbidding, really. It's exactly what it is. It tells a story. And somebody who's doing walks around ghostly London or something would love a picture like that. So you've got to think laterally. Absolutely flat light. No sun at all. I think it had been raining. This was at Long Bennington in New Hampshire in America. And I just loved the leaves and the light and everything. If the sun had been out, it wouldn't have been such a good picture, I don't think. It needed that soft light to make the picture work. Again, under trees. Again, this is Vermont in New England. No idea what the exposure was, but it's out of focus in the foreground, which makes me think it was quite a long exposure and I had to use quite a wide aperture. So there was very little light, actually. But it just makes the picture being soft light. You always have to think of light, but you have to get to a stage where one day you will, if you concentrate enough and if you are dedicated enough to this job of photography or whatever you want to call it, hobby, you'll go past thinking about it and you'll just do it. In sunshine, I found this old red truck. I mean, this again is in Vermont. Couldn't have been better. I mean, if it had been a black truck, it wouldn't have been so much of a picture. The fact that it was a nice bright red and it was an abandoned truck with these beautiful leaves just made a picture. And the light is coming from about 8 o'clock, I suppose, if you think of the clock. So it's really nice lighting. You don't plan these things, they happen. I think snapshots are great because as a travel photographer, it's about all you can do sometimes is just find something and shoot it. You don't have to think about it, you do it. If you stop and think about things, you'll never do them. There's a lot of gut instinct. I learned that from television camera work. You couldn't think what was happening. You followed it. You did it. Knowing that at the other end of that camera, there might be 100 million people watching it. So you couldn't think about something. You had to do it. And it's the same with photography. When you get to that stage, and you probably will, if you're dedicated enough, then you'll enjoy it even more because you'll be concentrating on what's in front of the camera rather than the camera itself. It's not the camera that takes the picture, it's the photographer. Cartier-Bresson said that, and he's absolutely right. Leaves in Kyoto in Japan, autumn leaves, little maple leaves. Without that background, which is out of focus, it could be anywhere, but because it's what it is, it almost tells you it's in Japan, or at least an oriental country. But it's the lighting, it's the contrast of the leaves, which I was looking up at against a very flat sky, and the building behind. Going back to New England, it's just silver birch trees reflected in a pond. And I just love the colours of the blue and the yellow. It's just, to me, that's lovely. It's a travel picture. It's the sort of thing you take. A lot of time as a professional, you shoot to a brief. You're told what you should take and what you should bring back. And my thing always has been to do what I'm asked to do and then get on and do the real photography. Because when people are sitting in offices and they're looking at a computer and think, well, that looks nice, we'll see if we can do something like that. Fine. And then I go and shoot what they want, and then I shoot my own stuff. And invariably, they use what I've shot for myself. So I would shoot that for myself and then offer it. You're in an aeroplane. This is Panama City in Panama. You have to sit on the right side of a plane. You have to know which way it's going to go. It's just taken off from the airport, and I knew which way it was going to fly because I'd asked. So we sat on the left-hand side of the plane, and I knew this would come up. The sun was very low. It was early in the morning. If I'd have sat the other side of the plane, I couldn't have taken it. This is what I mean about lighting. You've got to think where the light's going to be, where you can take the picture. This is Wineglass Bay in Tasmania, Australia. We'd recce'd the place. We'd got there, I think, the night before. We stayed in a place close by and found a little airfield which had a Cessna parked. Cessnas are really good for flying, taking pictures from, if you can organise what the pilot's doing. So we went along early morning. The sun was out. Let's go. So we went, and I said, well, I want the window open. He said, oh, you can't do that. It's a commercial flight. The insurance wouldn't be valid. I said, okay then, well, bye-bye. And he said, no, hang on. He said, you can charter the plane. I said, but how much is that going to be? It worked out cheaper, actually. So we chartered the plane, which meant we had to sign some release form from their insurance, because we were then responsible. I could open the window, and I could shoot without glass. But I got the pilot to fly. He said, which way do you want to fly? So we flew that way, and I knew where this picture was, and I got the shape, and the light is very low, still, early morning light. Another picture, this is in Tonga in the South Pacific. Again, I got on the right side of the plane. I knew which I'd been before and hadn't been on the right side of the plane. So I didn't fall for that trick twice. I made sure I got onto the side of the plane where I could take a picture. It's placing. It's where you position yourself with the light and with what's available. It's not just the constructed light that I've done a lot of my life in TV studios and theatres.